Good Tuesday afternoon to you, 4 o'clock time for Sports for CLE. Thanks for joining us. Hope you're having a good day. Browns at work on a Tuesday because they play on Saturday afternoon against the Texans down in Houston. So not practicing today for the Browns. Amari Cooper, rest and the heel. Dustin Hopkins and Kevin Stefanski said Hopkins not likely to be kicking in the game against the Texans. Kareem Hunt with his groin. Greg Newsome a knee. Pierre Strong back. Cedric Tillman in concussion protocol, Juan Thornhill with the calf, all not practicing today. The Browns did beat the Texans soundly on Christmas Eve. Kevin Stefanski knows things are very different with these Texans in the playoffs.
We're also excited that we're the first game. We don't have to wait an extra day, so we get to get up and go. But, you know, looking at this game, I know we recently played this team. As you know, they're different. Everybody's different each week, but C.J. Stroud's a great player. I mean, he's a great player, so we did not face him in the first one. You know, there's injuries that guys that are back on defense that they didn't have. They've signed a couple free agents on defense. So really, as everybody knows, you're a different team week to week, and certainly this is a different team we're facing, but I know it's a very, very talented team. They're very well coached. We're also excited that we're the first game. We don't have to wait an extra day, so we get to get up and go.
And with that, let's welcome in Lance Reisland from the Plain Dealer, cleveland.com. Lance, when you look at it, different team, yes, but I think if you look over the overall body, up to down, the roster still favors the Browns.
Yeah, you know, the thing is it's weird because C.J. Stroud's a rookie, but they really rely on him. So when you think about their offense, he's thrown for over 4,000 yards, 23 touchdowns, and just 5 interceptions. They really rely on him like a veteran quarterback, and that's really, really hard in the playoffs. Everybody's amped up. Everybody's got film on each other. You know, they got Will Anderson's back. The guy I really like, there's middle linebacker Cashman. He makes a ton of plays. It is a different team. Nico Ryans is a different receiver with C.J. Stroud. I think the Browns have the answer, but it is a much different team in terms of being able to score the ball, move the ball. Defensively, they're pretty good inside. Their edge guys are pretty good when Anderson's back. So it will be a tougher game. But it's going to be a tougher game for the Texans as well. This is the playoffs. The Browns have the veteran quarterback. The Browns, I think, have the advantage if they just get off to a good start.
So you mentioned C.J. Stroud. He played really well in a win-or-get-in game against the Colts this week. Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah, Greg Newsome on the challenges C.J. Stroud presents at quarterback.
A lot different. I mean, CJ is not just the best rookie quarterback, but he's one of the best quarterbacks in the whole entire NFL. So he presents a lot of challenges for us, but I think we're up for the challenge.
Of course, you know, reference to personnel would be a challenge. You know, CJ is the type of player that he is, which is an awesome player. And then they have the real good backs, real good lines. So it'll be a challenge for us overall, but it'll be a little bit more understood because we have more footage on him.
With the fact that he's a rookie quarterback, any edge at all?
I don't think it's like a edge thing where you come in, he's a rookie quarterback, and he may struggle with this, he may struggle with that. I think he's mature enough to be able to, and he's seen enough football to be able to execute in the way that he should. I don't think him being a rookie quarterback is going to affect his play at all.
Do you guys see him? Does he face everything defensively now?
Well, I mean, he's faced similar defenses. You know, the Jets runs, some of the front to us and some of the concepts. So he's faced similar defenses, and I think he's seen enough film of us to be able to execute in the way that he should.
All that's true, Lance, but you can't simulate the pressure that this Browns defense brings. You can practice it. There's something about game speed. And that's one thing I'm curious to see. Again, I was really impressed with Stroud. He's had a great year. He's going to be the Rookie of the Year offensively. I want to see how he handles the pressure Jim Schwartz is going to bring.
Well, yeah, he said he's faced, Jets are good look in terms of their fronts and the techniques and stuff. But in terms of pressure, he hasn't seen anything like the Browns, just with the 4-man pressure as well. So he's going to see 4 and 5 and even 6-man pressures. But I think the thing that separates the Browns compared to everybody else is that they have 3 guys that can cover. So he's not able – I don't think the Browns are going to give him very many easy throws to get himself in rhythm. The Browns are able to create pressure, but the Browns have a complete defense where they stop the run on first down. They get it in their advantage on second, third down. Then he's going to see pressure he hasn't seen, and he's not going to have those hitches and slants and easy throws. He's going to have to hold on to the ball a little bit because the Browns, I think, are going to be in press coverage. This is going to be a tough game for him. I know the Browns know he's good, and they're saying the right things to make sure there's no bulletin board material. But this is a rookie, and they're going to get after the rookie for sure.
Well, Joe Flacco, not a rookie by any stretch of the imagination. On the importance of playoff experience, if he thinks it's important.
I'm sure there's a level of importance to it in terms of letting the football game come to you, not necessarily riding too high and riding too low when things happen, realizing that it is another football game. But ultimately, the most important thing in playoff games is executing your fundamentals to the highest degree. And I don't think that necessarily takes experience to do. It just takes you staying level-headed and playing within yourself.
Again, what he's saying, Lance, is don't try to do too much. And that's going to be, I think that's going to be tough for C.J. Stroud because they are missing Tank Dell. They are missing some of the other pieces to that offense.
Well, yeah, and when he's not in, it's a totally different team. So as compared to the Browns, where they've had 4 or 5 quarterbacks, the Browns have a run game. The Browns have defense. The Texans are very good, too, and they've done a great job of kind of rebuilding and kind of revamping. But they got a rookie head coach. They got a rookie quarterback, a rookie DN, who's one of their lead guys. Tank Dell, before he got hurt, was a lead guy. Nico Collins is kind of new, so he's not a super veteran in terms of playoff experience. But Flacco, I like what Flacco said in terms of attention to detail, right? So pay attention to your fundamentals. That means do what you're coached to do. Don't do anything more. Do your job. Try not to get too high, especially early in the game when those nerves are amped up. That's when mistakes happen. When mistakes do happen, because they always happen, don't get too low. Just kind of stay the course. I think the Browns, because of the youth on the Texans, the Browns have the advantage. If they jump on them early, it'll be tough because C.J. Stroud has to carry the load. And I know he's good, but this is playoff football. And Schwartz knows exactly what they're going to do. And the Browns have the personnel to match up where some teams don't against the Texans. The Browns do. So I expect the Browns to come out with their hair on fire and get after the young guy.
All right, so this from ESPN.com, exposing myths from each playoff team. For the Browns, the myth. The Browns can overcome Joe Flacco's interceptions. Why it's a myth. Postseason field is filled with opportunistic teams that know how to take care of the ball. Browns' first-round opponent, Texans, had a plus 10 turnover differential this season. Ravens, whom they'll likely face this season in the second round, if they beat the Texans, had a plus 12. And those are both true, and that I won't dispute that. The Browns have been terrible all season with the turnover battle. Somehow they've won 11 games. So if they don't give opponents short fields or pick sixes, not all turnovers are created equal.
Well, yeah, and I've said it for a number of weeks now with you, and I know we agree on this, is that the Browns end every drive in a kick, they got a chance to win the game. Simply, it's hard to go 12 yards against the Browns defense with the pressure, with the coverage of those corners, with the linebackers. It's hard to run the ball on first down. It's just really hard to put together at the NFL level, the college level, the high school. It's hard to get 10, 12 play drives when you have that elite defense. If they don't give that, turn the ball over and give that opposing offense short fields, or, the last game was 36-7. It's not close, but they gave up a kick return, and then they gave up an onside kick, and then they had to bring the starters back in. So it's all a matter of playing all 3 phases. The Browns, for the most part, I know the Ravens are really good, but the Browns are number one in a bunch of categories. Defensively, they have a historically good defense. Browns are probably going to win on defense. The other 2 phases can't lose it for them. So, again, I agree with that. The turnovers, I was asked a while ago, when will this quarterback issue, come to play? Well, I'll be honest with you. I think before the quarterback issue, I always thought the turnovers. They have to fix that going into the playoffs, or that will catch up with them, because these really good teams will come up with a drive or 2. And they got to make sure that it's a long drive and not a short field.
Yeah, I agree with you wholeheartedly. All right. This is an interesting note. Texans' percent of yards after catch given up compared to total receiving yards, 45.4%. No, it was 46% against Colts last week. David Njoku is like the master of this. 69% of his receiving yards have come after the catch. He had a couple big plays against the Texans. Texans head coach DeMeco Ryans just a little bit ago talking about Njoku.
I mean, Njoku, he does a good job of catching screen passes or check downs and turning them into explosive plays. So it comes to when you're going against him, it's about tackling, right? He does a really good job of yak, right? He converts short passes, turns them into explosive. So where are you in position? You got to be in position. Multiple guys have to be at the football. He caught a big pass on us there. We were not disciplined in coverage, not where we should be, and he made a touchdown on us.
And again, that's been something that this defense for Houston has given up, yards after catch. And Njoku, Ford, all those guys are pretty good at that.
You know, Njoku has 81 catches, right? He's having a career year. You know, he ran a seam stick nod, they call it, where he kind of got behind the backer with a two-safety high look. He's really a matchup problem for the Texans. Perriman, Cashman, those guys inside, their safeties, they struggled. Stingley's a good cover guy, but the rest of their guys struggled covering the Browns. Browns, you know, Flacco had a career day. Obviously, Cooper had a career day. And Njoku is fantastic. And one of the reasons Njoku is so fantastic is that he can do so much, and you can't really when he's in a game, they're doing this. He puts his hand on the ground. He's in the slot. He's out at receiver. He's a matchup problem for linebackers with his speed and size. He's a matchup problem for corners because he's so big. Safeties can't run with him. He does an outstanding job of getting the ball and not wasting movement. And when Coach says there that, you know, he does a good job of yak, that just means to me he's getting a catchable ball from Flacco, and he immediately gets upfield. When you see Dave catch the ball, he catches it and immediately goes. And he's a big physical guy, and he's hard to tackle once he gets going. So, again, that's a credit to Flacco as well, getting the ball in space and a catchable ball so he can turn and run. But, yeah, another guy who should have a big week is Njoku because he's a matchup problem for those safeties and linebackers of the Texans.
So, former NFL offensive lineman Jeff Saturday, ESPN's First Take. Top 5 teams entering the first week of the playoffs.
Who's my number 3 team? Bam! Cleveland Browns. There's a surprise for everybody, putting Cleveland Browns at number 3. Joe Flacco has turned this football team offensively on its head. He is averaging over 300 yards throwing the ball. We always think about the Browns being ground and pound, great defense, all this kind of stuff. They don't need to play ground and pound. They got a great defense, and Flacco is airing out. Amari Cooper's making plays. This team is hot, and Njoku's making plays. I love this, and guess what? They may have beaten the teams that are above them. We ain't got there yet, but this team has played really good football. I'm excited to see what they do in the playoffs.
And Lance, he had Ravens 1, 49ers 2. Browns are the only team in the NFL who has beaten the top seed in each of the conferences.
Yeah, you know, the thing about what you like about the Browns and the reason they've had such success with, first of all, Coach Stefanski gets a ton of credit, right? Because he's done it with 4 different quarterbacks. It tells you his scheme. It tells you his coaches. It tells you they have depth. But the thing that I really, really like about the Browns is that their defense travels, right? So no matter what the offense does, the defense travels. Now they've added the pass game. The run game is still going to be solid, you know, especially with Ford. But those guards inside, the center, Posick, and those guys will create movement in the run game. The defensive tackles are not outstanding against the run for the Texans. So the Browns need to have some opportune runs, right? They don't need to run the ball like they do when they have Chubb, but they need to make sure that they get some good first down runs and some third down conversions. And then Flacco has added the deep ball, and Flacco has added confidence. Now all these guys are playing at a high level. It's a very the defense, the run game is still there, but now Flacco has added an extreme vertical pass game that makes them kind of scary. This is a team you don't want to play just because the skills are tough to match at all 3 levels on both sides of the ball. So again, I agree with that. I think the Browns are as good as anybody in the playoffs because defense travels.
Lance Reisland from the Plain Dealer, cleveland.com, and I can step aside, take a quick time out. Other side of the break, video scouting reports, a preview of the Texans-Browns matchup in the playoffs. Sports4CLE. Be right back. Stay with us.
Ooh, holiday gold! The $20 scratch-off?
It has 100 times multiplier. I could win $1 million.
Psych! I got merry and bright.
No fair.
It has a 200 times multiplier. I could win $2 million.
Game on the back.
Game on the back.
Game on the back!
Game on the back! Game on the back! Game on the back! Game.
We continue talking Browns with Lance Reisland from the Plain Dealer, cleveland.com. Time to take a look at 4 keys for the Browns beating the Texans. Film analysis, video breakdown. First thing that we say, Lance, the rookie quarterback, C.J. Stroud. Got to get pressure on him. Let's take a look at this first clip. Tell us what you see.
Well, Colts did a pretty good job of getting pressure. This is sacked by Buckner. I think the Browns can attack those guards. Larry Tunsil is a good tackle. I think the Browns are going to move Garrett over. They're going to move Smith over. They're going to attack that Charlie Heck, that right tackle, Shaq Mason, that right guard. But what they got to do is, first of all, they got to stop the run. The Texans only ran for 60 yards last week. They're not looking to run the ball. So the Browns have to stop the run on first down, get it to second, third down and long, and then find those matchups where they can win. Stroud's got to get off his spot. He's got to get out of rhythm. When he gets in rhythm, he's really, really good. He's well coached. He was well coached by Ohio State, so he knows what he's doing. He processes really well. He can make all the throws. He's got really good feet. I remember last year against Georgia, that's when I was sold on him because his feet. I didn't realize how good his feet are. He's a rhythm guy, though, and they got to win first down, and then they got to find those matchups. And I think the matchups are inside on those guards. So I look for Smith and Garrett and those guys to get inside on those guards and be on one side together away from Tunsil. There's no sense to let Tunsil block. He's a good player. Those other 4, I want to see the other 4 be able to control the Browns. But again, it all starts with stopping the run on first down and creating those second, third and longs.
Yeah, and Stroud has had a great year without question. All right, so number 2, Nico Collins is another guy, wide receiver, big, tall guy that's got had a good year. What do you see here? What do you think?
So here's the first last week's winning get in game, right? So they have a lot of faith in the young quarterback. Really simple high-low read on the safety. You're going to see the tight end on the hash. He's going to be right there. The safety's going to sit just a little bit, and Nico Collins is going to run by. Now, Nico Collins played against the Browns and against this Cleveland team week 16, and he wasn't much of a factor, and that's because Case Keenum can't stretch the ball, and they had trouble getting it vertically to him. Nico Collins has had a huge year. He's had a ton of receptions. He's well over 1,000 yards receiving, and he's an elite guy at 6'4", 215. The Browns have a big-time corner in Denzel Ward, who they paid a lot of money and has been outstanding. They also have a guy, if Ward struggles with his size, and Martin Emerson, who can match up with him, especially in the red zone. But Nico Collins and Ward's got to neutralize him for the Browns to have success. With Tank Dell out, the Browns' other corners are better than the receivers. This Nico Collins versus Ward, Nico Collins versus Emerson is a big deal for the Browns. If they get that done, stop the run, stop Collins, there's not a lot else that I believe that they can hurt. I don't think they're going to run the ball very well against this Browns defense. So Nico Collins becomes the key to making sure that they stay off the scoreboard, especially early.
Yeah, I'm with you. The Browns also are equipped in that secondary to match up with Collins as well. All right, we flip sides of the ball. Opportune run plays. Take us through this clip, what you see here and what you've seen from the Texans.
Well, I was trying to think about what I mean by runs, and I wanted to say quality runs, but that's not really what I want. The Browns always have quality. They need opportune runs. So this is just a simple third down run from the Colts last week, and this is what the Browns need. Browns need some solid runs, some opportune runs on third down, so they can move the sticks. They need some good runs on first down to get to second 4. They need Hunt to have his 35 to 50 yards and maybe get a couple rushing touchdowns or a couple big fourth down runs. So they're with the chunk plays that Chubb used to give us, those chunk plays now come from Njoku and Cooper. In his first 5 starts, Joe Flacco has 27 chunk plays of over 20 yards. That's incredible, especially being on a new team. So those chunk plays come from those guys. What the run game has got to be really, really efficient when they do it. And the Texans struggle. Jonathan Taylor had 30 carries for 188 yards, and the Colts had 227 yards and averaged almost 6.3 a rush. So the Browns, again, they're not going to run the ball like they have with Nick Chubb, but they got to be really efficient with it. And if they could do that, it sets up that play action, those deep shots, and if they could run the ball some and tighten that box, that secondary really is going to struggle covering Cooper and Njoku again. Yeah,
the other thing it does is it keeps the pressure from the Texans teeing off and trying to get to Flacco. Next one we have, next clip that you're talking about, continue to feed Amari Cooper. He ate the Texans alive.
So he did a bunch of good things here. So this is just a little slant route. He's the best, one of the best route runners in the way he sets it up. So what he does here is he actually slow plays it, right? So he's almost going to give you this lazy, I'm outside, and then he's going to release in on a third down. This is stealing. This guy, they could not cover him with anybody. They even tried Stingley on him, who's their best corner, and he struggled. So what they got to do is they got to continue to find those matchups, and that's why running the ball early on is really key. I think, obviously, you don't want to go away from it. If they don't cover it, continue to work it. Right now, if they have an answer, you have Njoku, you have some other guys that need to step up, but Kevin Stefanski does a great job of putting him in different spots. So it's really, really tough to double him all the time. So again, I'm going to keep working the ball to Cooper. I would keep working the ball to Njoku. They've proven that they struggle with that. The vertical routes have increased so much now with Joe Flacco with Cooper. That's the key, is continue to push him. But this is one of those routes that he just wins because he's a great route runner. So again, third down conversions, first down play action, very big for Cooper.
Yeah, and nothing fancy there. All right, so this next clip, take us through this. Again, another one. Cooper, 265 yards receiving last time.
Once again, now he's on Stingley here, and this is the record setter. So what you got to do is you got to get him. So what he does is he's going to square Stingley up and then run that out route. But this is when the Browns had to have a first down. This is when they had brought their reserves in, and they gave up an onside kick, then they gave up a drive, so they had to put the starters back in. And this is the record breaker, just a simple out route. But none of these corners, if they're left alone on Cooper, can cover him. So again, with Flacco being a veteran, if they get man coverage, look for him to get out of the play and get into a route with Cooper, especially if it's one-on-one. Same with Njoku. So these two guys are really, really tough. They're really, really tough on the Texans, and the Browns got to continue to push the ball to them.
All right, and our last clip, we heard earlier about the concern D'Amico Ryans had for David Njoku. Take us through this last clip.
So what you hear, this is Njoku's 21-yard touchdown. This is called a stick nod. So Flacco, being a veteran, he sees two wide safeties, right? And he sees the backer has got to cover. That's Perriman. Perriman's not big enough and not fast enough to run. Well, he's fast enough, but he's not tall enough and long enough. So what ends up happening is that you have those split safeties, and Njoku being at 3 strong, again, the position flexibility, it gets them matched up. Now with the two high safeties being in that wide safety look, Flacco knows that the middle linebacker has to carry, so he has to run vertical with Njoku or whoever's at 3. So the Browns, with Stefanski putting him in the position he wants, gets Njoku on Perriman. Then he just runs a little stick nod where he's going to widen that safety because he knows he can run past Perriman, and Flacco throws a great ball. So this is a great concept from Stefanski, a great route from Njoku, and a great throw from Flacco. Again, matchup nightmare. Njoku and Cooper with these guys, the secondary of the Texans.
Lance Reisland, again, really good stuff. You see the throw and the arm strength from Joe Flacco. Lance, as always, great stuff. Appreciate the time and the insight. Thanks very much, Lance.
As always, thanks for having me.
Lance Reisland, always really good video breakdown, film analysis. Make sure you check him out at cleveland.com as well as the Plain Dealer. We're going to step aside, take a quick timeout. Other side of the break, we continue talking Browns. Casey Kinnamon from Dog Pound Daily, Network 216, straight ahead. Stay with us.
Come back to go forward. Back to learning new things. Back to pursuing your dreams. Tri-C has flexible learning options to fit your life. And every year, more than 1,000 local companies provide Tri-C students with real-world learning. The right education can boost your lifetime earning power by hundreds of thousands of dollars. Start now with a college education you can afford. Tri-C, where futures begin.
Holiday gold! The $20 scratch-off?
It has 100 times multiplier. I could win $1 million.
Psych! I got merry and bright.
No fair.
It has a 200 times multiplier. I could win $2 million.
Game on the back.
Game on the back. Game on the back! Game on the back! Game on the back! Game on the back! Game.
I am powerful beyond my wildest imagination.
I will define my future.
I will keep challenging myself to improve.
Because I am a future leader of this great nation. I will be responsible for raising a beautiful family.
And educating not only my generation, but many more to come.
I will make a difference in my community.
And I will stand up for what I believe in. I will not settle for simply chasing my dreams. I will achieve them.
Because I was given a chance.
An opportunity.
A home.
At Family, Career, and Community Leaders of America.
The ultimate leadership experience.
FCCLA has been one of the greatest experiences of my life.
It's made me who I am today.
Join us. We'll build a new future together.
We continue talking Browns on Sports4CLE. Let's head to the voicemail of Truth and Reason.
How you doing? Love the show. So excited. The Browns are ready for playoff week. I've just been waiting for this. I just wanted to get your feedback on the Pro Bowl selection. I just feel that a few players got snubbed out of it. I know that it's not always a fair situation because the fans have a chance to vote. But, Martin Emerson not making it in is a head scratcher to me. And Grant Delpit is another one. I don't know if it's because he was injured, but I just want to get your thoughts on who kind of got snubbed and who didn't. But nevertheless, I'm confident in our chances against the Texans this weekend, and I hope all Browns fans are putting out positive energy. Go Browns.
As always, appreciate all of the voicemails. Let's welcome in Casey Kinnamon, Dog Pound Daily Network 216. Casey, the problem is there's only a certain amount of spots in each conference on the Pro Bowl, and it's now like dodgeball and flag football. So Emerson certainly has had a good year. Delpit has too. Delpit's injury probably affects it. It's a lot of that's reputation, though. As you get, like next year, Emerson, if he plays well again, will likely be part of the Pro Bowl. It's as silly as it sounds. The first year you play well, you kind of get on everybody's radar, and then the second year you usually get the Pro Bowl votes.
Yeah, it comes down to the name. You see, if you look across the field, you see someone like Denzel. Denzel has the name, and Denzel's played great this season. But I would argue Emerson's been better, and very deserving. You're looking at a guy who's in the top 2 in both quarterback rating when targeted and completion percentage. He's given up 0 touchdowns, but I do think that now that they're on the national stage for the remainder of the year, they go on this run. The defense plays like I think it can. I think a lot of these guys will get the accolades they deserve.
Yeah, and again, you make even a better point about it. The national attention. We see them week in and week out. There haven't been a lot of nationally televised. Browns have been playing at 1 o'clock on Sundays most of the time, and there's a lot of NFL football on in that time slot. But I'm with you. I think the national spotlight will help them. All right. Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah talked to the media today, addressed, Browns are trying to go 1-0, but he did stop short of saying it's just another game.
Each week we say, we're trying to go 1-0, and there's possibly a game right after that. This one is more like we really, embrace that concept and that motto to go 1-0. So that's it does intensify it a bit. I'm not one that's going to lessen the game and say, oh, it's just a regular game. The city of Cleveland has been waiting for this game, right? The organization has been waiting for this game. It's not just a quote-unquote just another game. I think there is a bit of intensification in reference to the speed of the game, in reference to guys pulling something out of themselves that they haven't seen in the regular season. I think it's more to it.
Casey, the approach from what you hear, you got to like it. I mean, it isn't over the top. It isn't. There's an edge, I guess, to it.
Yeah, absolutely. The acknowledgement of the situation. It's like the mindset's the same, go 1-0, but the stakes are raised. The atmosphere is going to be different. There's going to be more intensity, but that doesn't mean you change who you are. You still play your game. And just because of how talented they are, they play their game. Those big plays will still happen. But it just comes down to doing your job. But there's a lot of it's going to be a raised stakes. There's going to be a lot more intensity going on. Like it's which team can handle that better is usually what it comes down to, and because there's added pressure. They can say there's not. They could say it's another game, but we all know that's not the case. There's just a lot more weight to this.
Yeah, Joe Flacco, a guy that knows all about the playoffs, has had a lot of playoff experience, has won a Super Bowl. Talked about if he expects the Texans to try to take away Amari Cooper after Cooper put up 265 receiving on the Texans back on Christmas Eve.
Yeah, listen, I mean, I think anytime somebody plays like that, you're definitely going to go into that game and say, all right, we're not getting beat by that guy again. But once again, it's not my job to worry too much about that. It's my job to go out there and play on Saturday and just do what the defense tells me, and you don't want to overthink it either. You don't want to You don't want to take your head off of Amari just because you think that they're going to have some gigantic plan for him. We got to be ready for everything. I'm not in their heads. I think that we'll have our plan, and as long as we execute our plan, then all that stuff will kind of fall into place. Listen, when you play in this league, a lot of these games come down to getting pressure on the quarterback, and there's multiple ways to do that. Do you do that with your front? Do you do that by putting pressure with your, by bringing linebackers, by bringing secondary guys? So we'll see. I mean, our offensive line has done a great job since I've been here, and like I said, there's going to be times where teams come try to pressure you, and those usually lead to opportunities if you're on top of your stuff. So it's just part of the game. Every week you have to be ready for teams to do that.
Casey, that's that in a nutshell. The reason the back end of that bite is there, that's what you get with playoff experience.
Yep. You have to understand that that's going to create opportunities if they do change who they are to play, how they have to play you. And he's 100% right. They better do something against Cooper. My guy went for 11 and 265. Like they better change their approach some way. But I'm a big believer in water finding its level. Like, do I think Amari Cooper would go for 265 this weekend? No. Fully expect him to get about 120 and a touchdown, though. Flacco's still going to target him. They're still going to find their moments and their opportunities. He's too talented of a player not to. But there's going to be other players stepping up in this game. You're going to see a lot more of Elijah Moore. We've seen what David Njoku is now to this offense. Those are going to be constants. And Flacco's, he's been there, man. He's seen it now. And them just playing there a few weeks ago is a huge benefit to the travel, to going there and to seeing that atmosphere. And I expect a big game out of this offense this weekend.
So take a look at this. This is kind of also, it's just interesting, kind of cool. Joe Flacco, if he can lead the Browns to a win over the Texans, will have won the most road playoff games in NFL history. He's currently tied with a guy named Tom Brady. So it's just a little footnote that's kind of cool.
I've heard of that guy. I've heard of Tom Brady. Yeah, that's huge, man. I mean, to win 8 now, if he wins one this weekend, to get to 8 road playoff wins, it just shows you how historical, and it's not something that's done easily. And it also shows you that what a home field advantage must mean if no one's had more than that over the course of this 100-year league, to be at that. But I got curious. I went around, I kind of did some digging, and I think he'll set another record if he wins this Saturday. It'll be the longest the longest gap between playoff wins for a quarterback. His last playoff win came January 3rd, 2015, which will be just shy of 3,300 days. So yeah. I think that'll be another stat we see pop up next week.
There you go. All right, before we go to break, 4 most unexpected Brown stars from 2023. This is from Dawg Pound Daily. Number 4, safety, Ronnie Hickman. Number 3, the kicker, Dustin Hopkins, probably not going to be able to go in this game against the Texans. Number 2, Jerome Ford. And number 1, the aforementioned Joe Flacco. And Casey, I mean, you can't argue with any of those. Those are guys that have kind of been pressed into service.
Yeah, it's like the found money award. You're broke, you go to get your coat out of the closet, and all of a sudden you find a $100 bill. It's like, oh, that helps. Coming into this year, you thought you had enough top-end talent that you wouldn't be relying on these kind of things, but here we are. These guys are like saviors. The Hickman one was huge because coming into the year, I was really worried about the depth of safety. You had 3 playable safeties, but you didn't really know what you had after. Well, because they were pressed into duty, now you find out you have solid backups, and Hickman's been a huge part of that. When Stefanski talks about Hickman, he glows. You hear him say, like, the ball just finds him, which is a characteristic special players have. You can call it luck, but after you've done it so many times, it's part of who you are. Hopkins, what can you say? I mean, that was a huge growth moment for Andrew Berry for me because he had to cut his losses with cage work, acknowledge that wasn't working, pivot, bring a guy in, and you couldn't have expected it to go better than it's went. Now, it is sad that he's not going to be able to go this week. I just hope that he can rest up and be a part of this run going forward. But when you look at that list, I mean, it's Joe Flacco. Like, if you'd have came to me before the year telling me, man, you guys are going to be heading the playoffs and pumped up because Joe Flacco is playing really well, I'd have wanted to see a drug test. I want to know what's going on there. But we've seen it. We keep hearing that he's come off the couch and done all these things. Local Cleveland furniture stores, get a hold of Joe Flacco. You need to sponsor this man because whatever couch Joe Flacco is sitting on, we all need one.
Casey Kinnamon and I are going to step aside, take a quick time out. Other side of the break, we'll talk a little bit about the quarterback the Browns are going to be facing, rookie C.J. Stroud. Sports for CLE. Be right back. Stay with us.
Come back to Go Forward. Back to learning new things. Back to pursuing your dreams. Tri-C has flexible learning options to fit your life. And every year, more than 1,000 local companies provide Tri-C students with real-world learning. The right education can boost your lifetime earning power by hundreds of thousands of dollars. Start now with a college education you can afford. Tri-C, where futures begin.
We continue talking Browns on Sports for CLE with Casey Kinnamon from Dog Pound Daily, Network 216. Let's head back to the voicemail of Truth and Reason.
Hey, Dave, Frank from Cleveland. I just want to touch on one thing today with you, brother. I'm going to predict C.J. Stroud. We intercept him 3 times, and we eat this kid alive with our defense. Mark my words. Great show as always, brother. Love you. Be safe, you and the family. And we are going to eat this kid alive. Jimmy Schwartz in the house. You better mark it. Love you, brother. Later.
As always, appreciate all of the voicemails. And Casey, I don't know about that. I watched the whole, and again, I love the call, love the optimism. Stroud didn't put the ball in harm's way once against the Colts, but Browns defense, different animal.
Yeah, 3's lofty. That's what I would say. 3'd be lofty. But I do expect them to get their hands on at least one, force a turnover out of Stroud, whether that's him putting the ball on the carpet or, to pick him off. And he's going to see things he's never seen before. This is playoff football, and he's facing the most talented unit he'll see all year, and they're well rested. So, yeah, I think 3's lofty. I'd be here for it, though. I'm not mad at it if it happens.
Again, I love it. So take a look at this. This is interesting. C.J. Stroud, PFF grade, just 48.9 when under pressure, and he's only completed 52.1%, thrown just 5 picks all season. Forcing turnovers won't be easy. Again, the Texans have only turned the ball over 14 times all year, kind of the antithesis to the 37 that the Browns have. And you wrote an article. Browns aren't going to be intimidated because it's C.J. Stroud.
Now, I saw a sweeping narrative that, the Browns should be worried because of C.J. Stroud, and they should be fearful of C.J. Stroud. And don't get me wrong, would I have rather played a Jacksonville Jaguars team who was limping into the postseason? Yeah, absolutely. But, this narrative's crazy. This is one of, if not the most dangerous defense in the league. They're as well rested as they've been all year. You're heading into the postseason with Jim Schwartz dialing everything up. The fact that C.J. Stroud's a rookie is a plus in your ledger. This is what you do to rookie quarterbacks, especially when you look at this defense and how they can really get after you and you see those stats of what he does under pressure. Well, the Browns' plan before you see those numbers, they're going to pressure the quarterback. They're going to pressure the quarterback, and they're going to be stifling in coverage, and C.J. Stroud deserves respect. He's had a tremendous year. He should run away with the Offensive Rookie of the Year. He's going to have a tough day on Saturday. Don't get me wrong. I'm sure there'll be pockets where he makes plays, but what he's about to see, it's going to be a tough day for that young man.
Yeah, rookie quarterbacks typically do not do well their first game in the playoffs. They just don't. And all right, so let's put a little bit more context to this. This is the Browns' defense against quarterbacks this season. Burrow, under 100 yards passing, sacked twice. Now, he was limited. He was limping around. Purdy, under 150 yards passing, sacked 3 times. Lamar Jackson, 3 times, 2 interceptions. Trevor Lawrence, sacked 4 times, 3 interceptions. All had passer ratings under 70. What I'm saying is this defense makes it a long night or a long day against any quarterback.
Yeah, there's a lot of experience on that list, a lot of talent, a lot of all pros. They all had their toughest day against this Browns defense. What's the common denominator? You know what I mean? When this Browns defense is right, it can put the screws to any quarterback, and C.J. Stroud's not exempt from that. It's a good story, and we might have a different conversation 2 years from now if he continues to grow on this trajectory. But it's the reality of the situation. Vegas agrees with it. They're a road favorite going down there for a reason, and it's this defense. This defense plays to the top of its ability. scoring 17 points is going to be a gargantuan effort for this offense against this Browns defense.
Yep. All right. So one of the leaders of that defense, Myles Garrett, without question. Hall of Famer Joe Thomas on what he remembers going against Myles Garrett his rookie year in training camp. This is from Up and Adams.
So I'm not sure what the ratings are on this show.
You can say that.
But he would eat lightning and he would shit thunder because the guy was made of a bowling ball of butcher blocks. He was unbelievable. My very first rep against him in live team, we were actually running a screen where on a screen as a tackle, you're supposed to allow your guy to get upfield, but you don't want him to get close to the quarterback. You want to think that he's beating you, but then push him wide. And usually you have no problem with that. Well, here's this rookie Myles Garrett. And, if you're a vet, you're going against a rookie, you're kind of laughing as it is. But Myles, as soon as the ball was snapped, of course, he beats me off the snap. He takes like 2 steps. He's by me, and he's in the quarterback's lap before, I think, I don't even know, Kaiser was our quarterback, or maybe McCown. I don't know. I had 20 of them. And he couldn't even get the screen off, which is like the cardinal sin. Like, if you're on the practice squad, you can block a screen at tackle. I couldn't even block Myles Garrett and on that play. And I was very thankful that I was injured for most of the season as far as missing practice. So I didn't have to block him very many times. And I was very thankful because he would have eaten my lunch every single day. He was that good even as a rookie.
A little bit of perspective on Myles Garrett from a Hall of Famer.
Yeah, and Myles has seen Julius Peppers, DeMarcus Ware, Khalil Mack, and he knows what he's looking at. And Myles is one of one, man. They broke the mold when that man came out. He's a physical freak. And that had to be a good feeling for Myles, too, because you come in this league and you don't know what to expect. And Joe's one of the best to ever put pads on. To get to practice against that and get that knowledge from a guy like that, that's huge. And it just shows you how special Myles is when someone like Joe can acknowledge what just happened there.
All right, so some news from around the NFL that could eventually affect the Browns. Titans fired head coach Mike Vrabel. Led Tennessee 4 consecutive winning seasons when he started 2018. Back-to-back losing seasons going under 500. The thing that I want to connect to this is Jim Schwartz, senior defensive advisor with the Titans from 21 to 22. So this is one, when we talked about Jim Schwartz's potential head coaching things, I got to imagine he was in that building for a couple of years. I can't imagine Jim Schwartz not being well thought of when he's in a building. That's just a situation to monitor relative to the Browns' defensive coordinator.
Yeah, the only thing that you have playing in your favor in that event is usually when someone fires a coach, they get the opposite guy.
Right.
And Jim's a hard-nosed defensive guy, similar to Vrabes. So they'll probably go offensive or young hot shot. That seems to be the way it trends. The one that kind of worries me, though, is the Washington opening, just because Jim's from Maryland. He played his college ball in D.C. at Georgetown, and I don't know who his pro allegiance was growing up, but there is a chance he could have been a Washington fan growing up and could covet that job. I'm keeping that in the back of my mind, and I'm just hoping it's not true.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'd like to see him back for as long as he wants to be here as the defensive coordinator. Casey Kinnamon and I can step aside, take another time out, another side of the break. Who is a team that could derail the Ravens? Stephen A. Smith answers that question when we return. Stay with us. The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education program is dedicated to recognizing exceptional students, teachers, and schools throughout Ohio. Scan the QR code on screen to nominate students and teachers as Academic All-Stars and Teachers of the Month. They must be currently enrolled or teach in grades K through 12. Is your K through 12 school developing students' literacy skills to achieve success in reading? If so, you can nominate your school for the School of the Year. Students can win $100, teachers can win $500, and schools can win $2,500. Scan the QR code, fill out the forms, and nominate deserving students, teachers, and schools today. The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education program takes pride in honoring exceptional students, teachers, and schools across Ohio. Submit your nomination today. It's fun, fast, and free. We continue talking Browns with Casey Kinnamon from Dog Pound Daily Network 216. Stephen A. Smith from the Pat McAfee Show on ESPN talking about the team he thinks could keep the Baltimore Ravens from reaching the Super Bowl.
I think the one thing that can derail the Ravens, that has a shot at derailing the Ravens, is Joe Flacco and the Cleveland Browns.
Defense is phenomenal.
That defense is phenomenal. And Joe Flacco, I mean, you're talking about 40 qualified quarterbacks, man. This dude is leading everybody with 323 yards average passing. I mean, this is spectacular stuff that we're seeing from him.
Okay.
And so when I'm looking at it from that perspective, I'm saying they can run the football. They can pass it. With the number one option in Amari Cooper and Njoku. Let's not forget about him.
Right.
Flacco swinging football, turnover prone, but nevertheless can make things happen. And he's very familiar with what John Harbaugh wants to do because that's his former coach that he won a Super Bowl with in 2013. I look at all of those things and I say we can't sleep on Cleveland.
Yeah, and Casey, I didn't even think of the Harbaugh connection with Flacco. That's absolutely right. If the Browns can run the ball just a little, doesn't have to be like Nick Chubb, just a little to keep the guys from pinning their ears back and trying to get after Joe Flacco. Offense is going to be okay.
Yeah, you've seen what the offense has been like even without the running game. They still run enough to keep teams honest, so play action works. But if they actually get some efficiency out of that running game, they're going to be tough to stop. And when it comes down to it, styles make fights. And the Browns are equipped to deal with a team like Baltimore. They're fast, they're physical. Baltimore's a complete team. You know, they're solid on all three phases. They know who they are. They don't fake it. You know, they know exactly what they want to do and what they want to get done. The Browns have the physicality to deal with that, and not many teams do. You know, that's why you're seeing this year. You know, and not for nothing, most of Baltimore's losses came within the AFC North, other physical teams, you know. So they're a team that you have to take it to them. You know, if you let them punch you in the mouth, they'll have no problem with doing it. You know, it's can they handle that? So that's what it comes down to. The Browns need to be physical. They need to dictate, and they have the defense that can do it. And they have a quarterback in Joe Flacco with the experience that can land home run hits. You know, he can really land some big punches here and take away some of that gusto from that Ravens defense.
Yeah, Flacco was asked today just about the difference in preparing for a playoff game.
You just go prepare. I mean, I've said it to some of the guys, like, there's not this daunting task of, like, getting ready to prepare for 20 games. You're preparing for one game, and that's it. You're promised one game here. So I think I think that's something good to fall back on. And, like, I think you can get comfort in that. One game. Prepare as hard as you can for 1 week, and then when that's all done, we'll pick up and see where we're at. You know, as far as playing these guys a couple weeks ago, I'm sure there's things that we'll take, you know, from the time that we played them, but each game is its own unique challenge, and these guys are a good football team, and we're excited for the opportunity to go play a tough game.
And again, different people in for both sides. Advantage of Browns, and you're going to say that most weeks, Browns roster is good.
Yeah, they're as far as from like a talent perspective, they're going to have the advantage going into most weeks, and that's even being as banged up as they are, missing some key contributors because the roster was built correctly. But like I think the approach that they've taken all year, that 1-0, you know, method, just going about it, just put your blinders on, compartmentalize, focus on this week at a time. That's going to serve them well in the playoffs because that's exactly what this is now: survive and advance. You know, so all your eggs are in this week's basket. By all means necessary, whatever you got to do, you got to come home with that win. And I think they're in good position to do that in Houston this week.
Yeah, when you talk about the Texans, we look at the defensive side of things. It is a team that it's tough to run on. So you look at them and they're giving up just 96 and change rushing, sixth best in the NFL, but they're giving up 234 against them passing the football. So that kind of opens up things, and Flacco's been really good. So that's not a great matchup for the Texans. Their secondary has struggled, and they're going to get a heavy dose of Joe Flacco throwing the football.
Yeah, it's no coincidence that was their game plan when they met on Christmas Eve. For the Browns, I think it's like you said, we still have to run the ball enough to keep teams honest, but they need to hit a home run. You know, I get it. You know, the running game's not been on fire lately, but you need someone to break one. You need Ford to get loose and rip off a 60-yarder. You know, and it's going to be a pass-heavy game regardless. I would expect 40 attempts from Flacco, but they just need to find ways to manufacture some yards in the running game just to make things easier. Because if they do that, it's going to lead to a lot of third and shorts and not having to rely on big balls and hopefully not turn the ball over. Because that's what it comes down to for me. That's just who this team is, though, at this point. This team's going to turn the ball over once or twice a game. That's what's going to happen. You just got to hope that those come in plus advantages to where they almost are a pseudo punt and not something that hurts you, So expect them to throw the ball a lot. I'm just hoping they can hit a home run ball in the running game.
So DeMeco Ryans, head coach of the Texans, talked about Joe Flacco, what he's seen from him. And remember, Ryans is about the same age as Joe Flacco, within 6 months.
A young guy. It's impressive that Joe is still operating at a high level, right? There is no let up in the arm strength, right? The decision making, it's all still elite at a high level. And he has a really good surrounding cast and he's able to get the ball to. They do a really good job of protecting for him, and he's just really smart with the football. So, it is impressive to see a guy as young as he is making plays, but he's the reason why that team is why they're in the position they're in right now, right? Because he has that experience. He's been there before, and I know that those guys believe in him.
And he kind of alluded to it, smart with the ball. Not all of Flacco, a number of Flacco's turnovers have been punts, for lack of a better term, or need to fit it in because we don't have a kicker. There were 3 or 4 of them at least that come right at the top of my mind. A couple of them were the one with the Jets guy that he tried to fake out. Would rather you didn't try to do that.
Yeah, and some of it's miscommunication too.
Right.
It's very rarely him just throwing the ball just to the other team. And you're an NFL quarterback, and if you're dropping back 45 times a game, bad things can happen every now and again. It's just the nature of it. The other team gets paid too. But he's right, man. Flacco's decision making has been good. He knows when to take those shots. It's not just doing it just to do it, and he's able to squeeze the ball, and he can make all the tight window throws still. And it comes with the experience, knowing what you can get away with leverage, knowing your players. That's the biggest thing. And that's where you see the miscommunication. Is when he's throwing at younger players, he expects to read a defense a certain way, and maybe they don't. And then it looks like it was a bad throw, put it in harm's way, when in reality that's where the receiver should have been. So, all in all, you do want to see them cut down on the turnovers, but that's kind of what's got you here is, the ability to kind of let it rip and take chances at times. And I don't expect them to change that. You just got to kind of mitigate when those occur.
Casey Kinnamon from Dawg Pound Daily Network 216 and I are going to step aside, take one more time out. So we continue talking Browns, Texans. Stay with us.
Ooh, holiday gold! The $20 scratch off?
It has 100 times multiplier. I could win $1 million.
Psych! I got merry and bright. No fair. It has a 200 times multiplier. I could win $2 million.
Game on the back.
Game on the back. Game on the back! Game on the back! Game on the back! Game on the back! Game.
We continue talking Browns with Casey Kinnamon from Dawg Pound Daily Network 216. Colin Cowherd from The Herd with Colin Cowherd. His thoughts, Browns-Texans wild card game Saturday.
So the Browns are at C.J. Stroud and the Texans. It's kind of a go-either-way game for me. I think the better roster is Cleveland. And I think, offensive coach, better roster. Cleveland's favored. I would probably take them. But, again, C.J. Stroud, all the wise guys and the sharps love the Colts this weekend, and C.J. Stroud was the better player. So that's a go-either-way game. Probably lean Cleveland. J-Mac, your thoughts on that one?
I bet the Browns at -2. This is just fading a rookie quarterback and a rookie head coach in their first playoff game.
That's how I feel.
And again, Casey, we've talked about it. I can't argue with either of those assessments. It's a little bit more magnified. Everything's just a little bit more magnified come playoff time.
Yeah, and these are learning experiences. Like they pointed out, this isn't just a rookie quarterback, rookie head coach. Now, DeMeco Ryans has been in high leverage moments. He's played in playoff games. He's seen this atmosphere, but not seeing it from this perspective, from this point of view, with everything's on him. So it's just a learning experience. It's tough. The playoffs do kind of just make everything just a little more emphasized, turns the volume up on everything. And you're facing, like, it sounds crazy because the Browns are pretty young still, but this is a veteran team. They know what they're doing. They got Jim Schwartz. He's been in this position. He's seen a lot of inexperienced quarterbacks, and he likes to dial up the pressure and kind of turn the heat up on these guys. And I expect that to happen. And I think this plays directly into the Browns' favor. I think that line should grow before the end of the week. And I'd say if you are a betting man, get it in now. I think that'll be closer to 4 points by kickoff.
So DeMeco Ryans, a defensive minded coach, talked about what he has seen on tape with this Browns defense.
And they keep after it. They are fast. They are physical. Starting with their front, their linebackers are probably some of the fastest linebackers in the league. They fly sideline to sideline making plays. Their secondary is sticky in coverage. So with their defense, it's not a lot of space, right? And they're on guys, and they're going to make you earn it. And that's what makes them good. When you have a really good rush unit up front tied with really tight, sticky coverage, it's tough to find windows to throw the football in, and that's what makes them really good.
And they're going to see a lot of that, Casey. There's an appreciation for what the Browns bring.
Yeah, you can tell he's saying that from the point of a linebacker. He recognizes what's going on up front and what it means in the back. But that speed at linebacker is huge. You know, you got someone like JOK, and Talkie's playing out of his mind right now. You know, it's a complete unit. And it's a well-rested unit. I can't stress that enough. You know, you're taking a team who has been really getting after it all year. You gave them an extra bye week kind of, right at the end here. And I think that should just pay dividends. I think that's going to be from the very first play. Like they're going to establish their dominance and put the screws to them. And I think it's just going to be hard for Houston to move the ball with any consistency. I think the only great equalizer when you're looking at a game like this is a possible, like what we saw in the first time they played, a kick return for a touchdown. That kind of stuff could even the playing field a little bit. If it's just offenses versus defenses in this game, man, Houston's going to be tough sledding all day Saturday.
All right, so take a look at this. Adam Rank, NFL.com. He predicted preseason the Browns would go 6-11. On the show, we ridiculed him when he did that. It's even worse, though. He predicted the Browns game by game. He was 4-13 in Browns games, game by game. To put him in contention for the first overall pick if he were a team. Some good news here. He is one of only 2 NFL analysts to pick the Texans to win. So the Browns have that going for them as well. 4 of 13. Just stop picking at that point.
I don't know. I respect it. I mean, just double, triple down. You know what I mean? Like at this point, he's leaning into it. He knows it's his shtick. He's just going to doubt the Browns at every turn, and the heat that he's getting on social media is hilarious. But he's embracing it. He's doing a heel turn. He'll forever be an enemy of Cleveland now. Every time he gets brought up, we're going to have vitriol. But that's crazy. You know, at the beginning of the year, looking what this roster was to predict 6-10 was something. And then to get into it and go even worse, and 4 wins, huh? That's something right there.
4-13.
Yeah.
Who you taking with the first pick in the draft, Adam?
Yeah. That's keep him on that side of the ledger. I'm glad he picked against us again. Just go down swinging, Adam.
Yep.
You know what I mean? That's all I can say.
All right. Before I let you go, what does this have to look like for the Browns to get a win and advance to the next round of the playoffs?
For me, it's all the defense. For me, it's just pressure. Force Stroud. And he doesn't turn the ball over a lot. Force him into mistakes. If you just look at the Texans offense, I mean, it's pretty simple. Nico Collins is their dynamic weapon. They have a steady hand in their tight end. But if you just take away Nico Collins, they're going to struggle to move the ball. It's going to be a lot of phone booth offenses. So as long as this defensive backfield tackles the way they can, they're going to force a ton of punts. I mean, a ton of punts. I don't know what the playoff record is for punts, but I think that's what their goal should be because Houston doesn't turn the ball over a lot. Force them to punt. Just give your offense as many opportunities as you can. And I think if they do that, I think you're looking at something like 28-17.
Yeah, what you want to do is you're not going to turn them over. Speed them up. And again, just make him off target. The one thing is he's more athletic than people give him credit for. So you're going to have to if he gets out and run, JOK, safeties better come in and tackle because he can beat you with his legs.
Yeah, and he's going to have to at times. There's going to be times where there's just nothing there. He's got to pull it down and make something happen. It's going to be incumbent, like you said, the safeties, linebackers, everybody rally to the ball. But this Browns team speed is quite ridiculous. I think he's going to find that if he does pull it down and decides to run, that daylight's there is not going to be there for very long. It's just stop Stroud. Don't force him to punt. I think that's all it comes down to. If you can force double-digit punts in this game, you should win going away.
Casey Kinnamon, as always, great stuff. Appreciate the time and the insight. Thanks very much, Casey.
Hey, anytime, Dave. Thanks for having me.
Casey Kinnamon, make sure you check him out. Dog Pound Daily, Network 216. Always really good Browns coverage and insight. It's going to do it for this edition of Sports for CLE. We will see you back here tomorrow at 4 o'clock. Have a great night, everybody. See you tomorrow at 4 on Sports for CLE.